Doug. Did you know that today in 1991, Cypress Hill published their self-titled debut album? What was the last thing that made you insane in the membrane?
I don't know. Probably that last time I jacked your ass like a looter in a riot.
Welcome to the Diehards, the show that digs deeper. Tonight, Doug is unveiling the DDP. No, he isn't Jake the Snake, unless he's hiding Damien somewhere in that room. But Doug is going to show us how to attack the draft from different spots on the board. Tonight, it is picks 1 through 4. I am your host, JJ Wenner, and as always, I am joined by the Fantasy Orthacle himself, Doug Orth. Doug, have you recovered from the expo?
I listened to the sound of my voice, and I think it's mostly the way back. So I'm going to say affirmative. How about you, JJ?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, no.
No, I'm still pretty much sleep deprived, and I still might be a little bit. Sunday was a long night. That's all I'm gonna say.
Delirious. I think delirious is the word you're looking for.
Delirious in joy. Delirious with joy. All right, Doug. Is there anything the good people should know before we begin?
So what we're going to do here is just your basic PPR, 3 receiver start, and everything else is pretty much customary. And then we'll talk about anything else as we go along.
Okay. Well, we are going to publish the next 2 episodes of the podcast. They won't be live, but we're going to publish them tomorrow and Friday at 8 p.m. So make sure you turn on your notifications. And before we hit start, hey, diehards, if you're ready to draft, connect, and celebrate women in fantasy football, you don't want to miss the Women of Fantasy Football Series, part of the Circa Las Vegas Fantasy Championships, this August 19th through the 22nd. It is probably too late for you to register for a live draft and get to Vegas, but there is still time to register for the online drafts. So spots are limited. So head to circadraftseries.com/women of fantasy to register today. That's circadraftseries.com, women of fantasy. We'll see you in Vegas. All right, Doug, I'm going to bring up the Fantasy Pros Draft Simulator, and you are ready to hit start on that puppy.
I am. And let's go ahead and knock it out. And just so everybody knows, I'm going to be drafting from the third spot in this episode.
All right, so let's go ahead and start and see what is coming off the board.
And we'll go straight to the draft board so you don't have to think about what's going on. And so, as expected, Jamar Chase and Bijan Robinson were the first 2 picks off the board. Those 2 are in their own tier as far as I'm concerned, and probably most of the fantasy world believes they're in their own tier. However, the pick here for me is going to be CeeDee Lamb. And the reason why, or at least one of the reasons why, is I think if you were going to expand the tier to 3, CeeDee Lamb would be in that tier. We already have a wide receiver 1 finish on his record or on his resume. But you look at that Cowboys offense, and they're probably not going to be able to run the ball with any amount of consistency. And then the defense, I don't think we can expect that to be at the level that they've been over the past, say, 4 or 5 years. So anyway, I love the idea of building my team around a clear alpha receiver because reduces the risk that comes with running back. And so let's go ahead and make CeeDee Lamb the pick here.
Okay, so if you are drafting from either the first or second spot. Are you also going wide receiver in both of those places?
Not necessarily. I mean, obviously, if Bijan is there at 2, and I mean, with either pick, that makes it more of a thinker. But the way I have my PPR rankings set up is Chase 1, Bijan 2, and the reason I say part of the reason for that is because let's call it the peace of mind. The peace of mind that Bijan comes along with Bijan, no previous injuries on his record, and just the huge upside that he has. He's basically Christian McCaffrey, about 5 years younger, and with no injury history so far. So, to answer your question, it's still Chase 1, Bijan 2, then Lamb is 3.
All right. And what about the fourth spot? Who would you take in 4?
Yeah,
Other
fourth spot.
receiver, Jefferson. What would you do?
Fourth spot, that's tough too, but I'm going to go with Gibbs just a little bit over McCaffrey. And I know it's shocking that I would have McCaffrey that high, but all 5 of these guys have league-winning upside, and that's what you want. And as we move down, so does Jefferson, so does Barkley. But I believe with Gibbs, sooner or later, that Detroit offense, and specifically John Morton, offense coordinator John Morton, is probably going to lean more heavily on Gibbs. There's just too much. He just offers too much big play potential, and I think I'm not predicting David Montgomery to go completely off the grid. That's not going to happen. He's going to continue being the meat tenderizer role in that offense. But Detroit's going to probably get seduced by Jahmyr Gibbs' big play ability sooner or later.
Okay, and so we'll go ahead then, and we'll go to the second round. Now, are you using ADP on the left? How do you have these players sorted?
So one of the good things about the Fantasy Pro Mock Draft Simulator is that you can import your own rankings if you so choose. So what you see on the left panel there is how my big board stacks up. So it makes it very convenient for me to figure out what my next 5 options would be. And that's something else I want to make clear here too, is that you should always be thinking about your next pick or 2 when you make your current one. So I having it set up like this gives me kind of a just allows me to think ahead a little bit if I need to.
Okay, and if somebody wanted to find your big board rankings, where would they go?
Yes, I'm still writing for FF Today. I know I'm the fantasy lead at the huddle. It can get confusing, but my big boards will still be at FF Today throughout the summer and for the rest of this year.
All right. Thank you very much for the plug. Why don't you go ahead then and talk about your second round pick? Now, you went with CeeDee Lamb in the first. What are you looking to do in the second now that you have your wide receiver 1? Ideally,
I would like to begin a draft receiver running back. And but having said that, and let's make this clear too. My big board, just like any good ranking system, is it's more of a guide, not you should draft the guy at the top of the list, move down, draft the top of the guide list, move down. So it's more of a suggestion than it is a expectation, shall we say. So anyway, the top 3 guys on my board here are the guys I would be choosing from. And I've kind of waffled back and forth just in the time that I've been talking here, but
so those 3 players are Trey McBride, Jonathan Taylor, and Ladd McConkey.
Thank you. Yes.
So this next pick is really going to steer, Doug, how the rest of your draft goes. Are you going with 2 wide receivers? Are you going more balanced with a wide receiver and a running back? Or if you're taking that premier tight end with McBride? So what's your thought here?
So I'll give a kind of a short summation of what my thinking is for each of these guys, but I'll eliminate McConkey from the list just because Keenan Allen isn't going to have a huge effect on Ladd McConkey's production, but I think it's going to be just enough to knock him from potential top 5 receiver back more to like a top 10 receiver. So I've already got my wide receiver anchor. So I'm going to, if McConkey was by himself in that offense, I might have a different thought. But so the debate here is between McBride, who's depending on the day my tight end 1 or tight end 2, and Jonathan Taylor, who we saw at the end of last year just how dominant he can be. That's a good offensive line in Indianapolis. And I'm going to lean into my preference here just because I feel like there's enough good depth at tight end later in this draft. I don't, with a good RB1 on the board, I think I'm going to lean in that direction and maybe hope for a Tucker Kraft, a Jake Ferguson, and Evan Ingram in rounds maybe 6 through 8. So Jonathan Taylor's going to be the pick for me here.
All right. So coming around after you went with Jonathan Taylor, we see that both Ladd and Trey went off the board, along with the first quarterback, Lamar Jackson, and Kyron Williams. So now that you have a balanced roster, where are you going at this point?
The thinking here is now we start 3 receivers. So if I'm going to lean in one direction, it probably is going to be at receiver just to continue to hammer home that advantage that I should have. The next running back on the board is Kenneth Walker. I think it's just a little bit too early for him, especially given that I like 3 receivers ahead of him. And I'll go ahead and just run down my top 2 options here: Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. Devontae Adams, I think there's a real chance that Adams is going to be a 1B, not a clear number 2 to Puka Nacua. And we also know Puka Nacua's injury history. Guy plays like his, I won't say his hair's on fire, but every snap is a minor car crash for him, seems like. There's a real chance I could get Devontae Adams as the clear alpha in that offense for 3 or 4 games and have him. We've also seen what Matthew Stafford, assuming he's healthy, we've seen what he can do for 2 receivers at a time. There was the Golden Tate Marvin Jones years. There was the Calvin Jones Golden Tate years. He's been able to make 2 receivers very viable in fantasy at the same time. So my lean here is going to be Devontae Adams and hoping for that low end wide receiver 1 production. So
now, do you have any concerns? I mean, Stafford's in a deep freeze. He's in an Airstream trailer. It's not sounding really good for Stafford this year. So if you knew for certain that you're going to get Jimmy G for half the games, are you going with Devontae Adams?
It's a great question. That's one reason why I like to wait as long as I can to draft, like the last week and a half of the preseason. To answer your question, I would say begrudgingly, I would say yes. Because I think Jimmy G is one of the better, if not the best, backup quarterback in the league.
And we know how much Devontae loves Jimmy G.
Mm-hmm. We do know that. It would be a thinker, and I don't know. That would be one of those. If I was in that spot 10 times, I would probably go with Garrett Wilson 5 times and Devontae Adams 5 times. But for the sake of moving this thing along, I'm just going to pretend that we'll see Stafford more often than we'll see Jimmy G.
I also like to put my drafts as late as possible, usually around week 16 or 17. All right, as you make the poor choice of Devontae Adams, we're going to answer a question from Brendan. Doug, is Brian Thomas's ADP where it should be? I saw him going as low as 107 during different drafts at the Expo.
Let me see where I have him. I think I have him. I actually have him at number 15. So I'm more of a early second round guy on Brian Thomas, and that's just accounting
where he went in this draft.
And that's just accounting for the Travis Hunter effect, I guess you could say. So, yeah,
Okay.
don't have much else to add to that.
All right. So now we come to the fourth round. You're up again. You have 2 receivers, 1 running back. Where do we go at this point, Doug?
Okay, so every draft is going to throw you a curveball, if not multiple curveballs. And something I don't know that I've seen in any draft that I've done so far is George Kittle at 410. That was not who I was thinking, considering. I didn't think there was any chance that this would be an option for me at 410. As you can see, I have Tetaroa McMillan about 6 spots higher, basically a half round higher on my big board. But in the interest of positional scarcity and the fact that I could, George Kittle is probably the only other player besides Trey McBride and Brock Bowers who could be the overall tight end 1 this year. And so even though even though I love my Tetaroa McMillan, I'm going to roll the dice that he's going to be available in the 5th round. And not only that, if we can scroll in or focus more in on the big board, or at least the player listing? Is that possible?
You would be the person in charge of that, not me. So I doubt you're going to be able to. Oh, look at you. Oh God, it's like a drunk person driving.
I gotcha. Just a second.
Oh yeah, just easy and smooth.
Oh,
it's live.
no.
Don't worry about it, buddy.
No, I'm not worried about it at all.
Yeah, it's okay.
All
It's
right,
only
so
people watching.
Okay, so what I was trying to show off there was the fact that there were, besides George Kittle, the next 8 guys are receivers. So it makes it pretty clear that I think George Kittle is the pick here. So assuming I can find him, well, we'll do it this way for now and move on from there.
All right. So you're going with Kittle. While you're doing that, let's get a word from our sponsor as you figure out what you're doing over there. If you're ready to crush your draft this season, then you need to access to one of the most accurate rankers in the game, Jody Smith's 2025 fantasy football rankings with tiers exclusively at fulltimefantasy.com. Football season is back, and Jody's legendary cheat sheet is ready to help you dominate draft day. Ranked number 2 overall last year in Fantasy Pros accuracy contest, Jody's work is trusted by serious fantasy players and is proven to win leagues. Use code BLITZ50 for 50% off your first 2 months and get early access to the rankings, tiers, and members-only content, and maybe a members-only jacket if you're lucky. Sign up now at fulltimefantasy.com. That's fulltimefantasy.com. Go pro, join Full-Time Fantasy. All right, Doug. So now you went ahead and you made your picks. What are we going to do in the 5th round?
As hoped or as predicted, one of the two. Our boy Tetaroa McMillan is still available in the early 5th round for us. And what I was trying to, this is as big as the screen will go for me before I lose the big board. So we'll just have to roll with it like this. My next 7 or 8 players are receivers. I expect some of them to make it to my next pick. So the choice here is, do I go with my number 32 ranked player, McMillan, or do I go with my 57th ranked player, RJ Harvey? The only reason that's a question is because I already have 2 receivers I think are wide receiver 1, either clear wide receiver 1s or quasi wide receiver 1s. And if you want to really get technical, George Kittle could be considered my wide receiver 3. With that said, it's kind of hard for me to dip down 2 rounds just to fill a perceived need at running back when I think I can get a similar one in round 6. So I think Tetaroa McMillan, he's my wide receiver 15. And so now this gives me 3 top 15 receivers. If my big board is, close to being accurate, I have three top 15 receivers along with a top 10 running back and a top 3 tight end. So I'm going to roll with T-Mac on this pick.
All right. So T-Mac is your choice. Now we come all the way back around. RJ Harvey did go, as did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other receivers. Might be a little bit scary. So now you're much further down in your rankings. So what do you do here at pick 6?
This is an interesting situation in that the player that I probably would have loved to select here went a little bit earlier than I expected. That would be Caleb Johnson. I figured if all else failed, I could probably grab him at 6'10". That did not happen, and that as far as I'm concerned doesn't really matter much. It just takes me out of the RB2 business, and that's fine because I have my 3 receivers. I still have a flex spot to fill. I still have a tight, and I already have my tight end, so I just have a flex spot to fill. Then I can hopefully get somebody I value in the 7th round, and that I don't expect that to be a problem. So what I'm looking at here, I'm still looking at top 5 receivers, or the top 5 people on my big board are receivers. The next 3 are tight ends, 6 of the next 7 after the receivers or tight ends. So anyway,
does this make you regret? Just a question. Taking
No.
Kittle as highly if you can get that 2nd tier tight end? Like if you could take Evan Ingram here, would that have made and take Trevion Henderson, say, in the 4th?
Right. The thing is, though, you're trying to scoop up value whenever and wherever possible. Kittle is not a 4th round pick. He's a 3rd round pick. Tedero McMillan, in my estimation, is not a 5th round pick. He's a 4th round pick.
Okay.
So I can always make up at running back. Even if you can't do it through quality, you can usually do it through quantity. And I'm not saying that's the advised approach. But if RB2 is my weakest position, chances are, JJ, my love for Jordan Mason, my love for J.K. Dobbins.
I think we all know your love of Jordan Mason.
Chances are I should be able, if need be, I should be able to get those guys within not this pick, but the next pick. Right now, the guy that's a screaming value to me on the board is George Pickens. Okay. Now, George Pickens, I know that our 14-team Kings Classic is not an accurate representation of this 12-team league. He's my wide receiver 2 in that league. I'm getting him as a flex here. I think that George Pickens has... you see Sean Teague's comment there?
Oh, I did. I put it up on the board.
So George Pickens is a low-end wide receiver 2 in my estimation. And if you want to really, and I think he's really the only, I'm projecting Waddle to get there, but I'm not as sure about that as I am Pickens. So here again, I'm just trying to slam wide receiver value, and I'm not going to reach at running back because there's no one worth reaching for at this point. I'd rather fill out my flex spot first, then target the running back position with numbers after that. So
all right, well, reach out and I will be there. Go ahead and make your pick.
And Vince has it right. It's not the size of the board, it's how you use it.
Sure, that's what they say. All right, so you went ahead and took George Pickens, who, if I'm going to whisper something, that's Jamison Hutchinson's favorite pick this year. If George Pickens goes off, Jamison Hutchinson is going to be a rich man, and he's buying all the high noons for next year's expo. All right, so after you took him, we saw 3 more running backs go off. Tyrone Tracy, Jalen Warren, and Brian Robinson, and Jerry Jeudy. What do we do now here at 7:03?
So now is the time that I need to be thinking a little bit more about just filling out that starting lineup, because a fifth receiver isn't going to do me anything here. The quarterbacks, I'm still about 2 rounds away from thinking about quarterback. And so like I already have tight end filled. I have my starting receivers and my flex spot filled, and I don't mind who I'm going to take here. So I'm looking running back, and I have a pretty good idea that obviously the one I'm going to take here, which is going to be Jordan Mason, and the one I'm probably going to take in the next round, he's probably going to be there. Either way, I'm not panicking at running back, simply because we can go into. Let's take a look here real quick. I switched over. This is the big board setup, if just running back rankings here. So my next 2 guys are J.K. Dobbins and Jordan Mason. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be thrilled with Ramondre Stevenson as my 3, but that's a real possibility. Trey Benson, I wouldn't mind as my RB3. Those kind of things. So that's kind of what I'm thinking with the 8th round pick. So I'm not, and I think those guys will see probably in upwards of 150, 170 touches. Anyway, so it makes sense to me to go ahead and take your boy, not my boy, your boy, Jordan Mason.
You can try to pass that off as my guy, but I do like Jordan Mason. He went really early in the Kings Classics.
He did.
Both of the drafts. So I don't know if they're on to something and the rest of us are behind, but I think we may be on board. So you went ahead. Now you have a full starting lineup except for quarterback. So do you pull the trigger in the 8th round on a quarterback? We have seen, we're down to the Baker Mayfield, Bo Nix, Kyler Murray, that like second into third tier of quarterbacks. Is this where you go, or are you willing to play a little QB chicken?
I am, because in my estimation, there are 4 quarterbacks worth taking in the early rounds, and then there are probably another, let's say 12. Let's say another 12 quarterbacks I'm willing to start just about any week, or at the very least play matchups with. And that goes down to as far as J.J. McCarthy, Drake May, and Jordan Love.
Well, Jordan Love, I see, is down to Doug. DT. Oh, no, day to day. I'm sorry. I misread that acronym. That's my fault. It's my fault. So what do we do here then with what's your pick going to be? I'm intrigued.
This is an interesting one, because I'm glad this happens, because it's going to happen in your drafts as well. I really thought J.K. Dobbins would make it back to me. He didn't. Okay, now it's time to pivot. It's time to think about, still thinking value at this point. I got my RB2, and I know it's not one that most people are thrilled about. But I'm also looking at that wide receiver core, and I don't really care, because if I get 150 touches and goal line work from my running back, my RB2, and a good offense, that works for me. So here I'm thinking this is an interesting one, because I'm thinking more value than I am filling up positional needs. And I think we're only going to go 8 rounds, correct, JJ?
Tonight we're going to go 8th rounds, unless you don't take a quarterback, and then we'll kind of
all right,
go quickly through the rest.
Okay, so
when you take a quarterback.
So yeah, I'm not going to go quarterback here. So I guess we'll extend this a little bit further. So my choice here comes down between Evan Ingram and Emeka Egbuka. Why? Because I think Evan Ingram, he's the tight end 4 in my rankings. So now I'm creating a little bit of leverage. Not that people go crazy over tight ends in trade talks, but I'll be happy to have two top five tight ends on my roster and figure it out later.
Okay.
Why Egbuka? Because there's a real chance he's the wide receiver 2 in that Tampa Bay offense, at least for half the season. And if it's more than half a season, again, I'm creating leverage with that pick. If let's just say Godwin plays 4 games, okay, Ibuka is going to make his way into my starting lineup somehow. That's just the way it's going to be. So I'm going to go with not positional scarcity here. I'm going to go with a complete upside pick, and it's going to be Emeka Ibuka.
Okay, so you take another wide receiver here. Now we're going to keep going. So what would you do in the 9th? You don't have to explain it as fully. Would you now take Evan Ingram?
I would. I think I would, because there's just no reason for me to go quarterback here, especially
Justin Fields is sitting there. Ooh.
Oh, my heart just fluttered. My heart just fluttered there, and I don't think it's a medical condition. So, look, I have Evan Ingram as my 62nd ranked player. 62nd ranked player. He's a screaming value to this point for me. I'll figure it out. So, Evan Ingram is the pick.
All right, love that. Now it comes all the way back around to 10-10. I wish all drafts were this quick. Would now be the point where you pull?
Yes, and I think we could wrap this baby up with this one here. So what I have 5 receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs. That would be the only consideration that it may be about time. Honestly,
break forth the rhythm and the rhyme. Sorry.
In a quote unquote real draft, I would probably take Trey Benson here, because there's so many. I like Trey Benson as an RB3, and there's what did I count? 6, 7 quarterbacks that I would still take.
I like it. QB chicken. Do it.
Yep, Trey Benson. And you can see the quarterbacks just aren't going. So anyway, this would be where I would now think about taking a quarterback, given this build. And I have Caleb Williams ranked higher than Dak Prescott and Justin Fields for now. It could be any one of those guys. It could be Williams, Prescott, Fields, Brock Purdy. I would even be fine with Drake May. So just for the sake of wrapping this thing up, I'll go Caleb Williams, but I think Dak would be. I would have to think, and I don't think too often about stacks in just redraft managed leagues, but Dak, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens stack would be really worth considering. Actually, now that I'm talking my way through it, I think that's probably the way I'd go. So that's going to be
interesting. Pick. Vince made a comment that it's okay to go early on tight end or QB, but you probably don't want to do both.
Correct.
But if you're going with an early tight end, you probably want to go for a later round QB. Otherwise, you're going to see a lot of weaknesses in either your wide receivers, or probably both your wide receivers and running back rooms.
And let's make that clear here before we wrap this thing up. So I mentioned before about there's 4 QBs, and I'll just say there's 4 QBs in my mind that you draft early, then you wait. And then as far as tight ends, there's 3 tight ends, and then you wait, with the exception of maybe Evan Ingram and Travis Kelce. And I would say those, if they're available to you in the 6th, 7th round or later, you find a reason. You find a reason to get them. I think as I do more drafts, and I haven't started any of my high stakes drafts yet. So if I'm seeing that Evan Ingram is falling into the 8th round consistently, then I'm probably not taking Kittle. Kittle's a screaming value in the 4th at 410 here. I can't not take him, but in the bulk of my drafts there, I don't think there's any way Kittle's making it past 401, much less 410. So to your point though, running back and receiver, to me, there's about 8 wide receiver 1s and about 20 wide receiver 2s, and running backs, I think there's about 8 running back 1s and about, 5 or 6 RB2s. So then you get into RB3 territory pretty quickly.
All right. Well, Sean is very disappointed. He thought this was a real draft. He's living a lie. I am sorry, Sean. I'm sorry. But it is time to say goodbye. Doug, where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm dropping big boards basically all month. Yep.
Like a baller.
Got to make some reference to Insane in the Membrane here, don't we? So I got big boards dropping all month. Two versions. It's going to be PPR, non-PPR, half PPR, FFPC, Superflex. and then we'll do that over the course of 2 weeks, and then we do the version 2 over the next 2 weeks. So that's at FF today. Finally, I mentioned being the fantasy lead at the huddle. My offensive line article will drop, I believe, sometime tonight. Please go check that out. And then I'm going to have a series of 12 articles that is going to detail how I would attack the first 3 rounds at each draft position, 101 through 112.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in and commenting. Please like and subscribe. If you're looking for me, you can probably find me at the patio by the fire pit. I'm still going out to Canton every night just to keep the streak going. But if you're looking for me on social media, I'm at JJ Wenner. We are going to be posting the second and third part of this at 8 p.m. tomorrow and Friday. Until then, remember, love yourself, know your worth. You are enough. Boat drinks, my friends. Boat drinks.